Hey guys, CJ here and welcome back to another all-new Hybrid News Now. Lots to talk about today floating around the comic book world, starting with a new report about Justice League Part 1's villain, Green Lantern Corps movie officially delayed, and a new report reveals which of Apocalypse's four horsemen almost wasn't in the movie. But first up, let's talk about who we might see as the villain in next year's long-awaited Justice League film. This comes to us straight from Devin Faraci over at Birth Movies Death, and for some of you I know that means stop listening. But this rumor really makes sense, and I'll explain why in a second. Faraci reports that the villain of the movie actually won't be Darkseid, and that DC and WB are actually saving that for Part 2. Instead, it'll be Steppenwolf, Darkseid's chief general and leader of the Apocalyptan military. Now, I actually think this makes sense for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we've already allegedly seen Steppenwolf in that deleted scene Communion that was released last month. Secondly, it kind of makes sense that we'd get one of Darkseid's top warriors fighting the Justice League first, whether he's just as the vanguard for a larger invasion or there to just gauge their strength, or even some combination of both. Now, while I really hope that we get mostly Throne of Atlantis in Justice League Part 1, the pick does make a lot of sense, but the fact that it does make sense doesn't stop it from being just a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. Now, this isn't about quality of villain. He is an absolute badass, but I'm not sure Steppenwolf is gonna pack the seats, you know? Now, Zach, above all else, remember this. Nothing, I mean nothing, is going to sell your movie quite like Steppenwolf dressed like this. Side note, since this morning the rumor has actually been picked up and run by a ton of outlets across the internet, so there may be a little something to it after all. As always though, I want to know your thoughts. If this is in fact the choice by DC and WB, what are your thoughts? Are you overwhelmed? Are you underwhelmed? Are you just whelmed? Let me know down below. In our next story of the day, let's stick around in the DC universe and talk about my most anticipated film from their slate, Green Lantern Corps. And unfortunately for me, it's not good news. It's actually not even really bad news either, for those of you that just got really worried for a second, and really it's just another piece of kind of whelming news. Green Lantern Corps has officially been delayed. 1 month. Yep, the film, which was slated to hit theaters in June of 2020, will now be hitting in July of 2020, and oh, the humanity, the DCEU is falling apart right before our eyes. But in reality, this has nothing to do with the film itself. It's just Warner Brothers shifting dates around to make some more room after announcing Godzilla vs. Kong for May of that year. But as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Are you still excited for Green Lantern Corps, or do you kind of want it to just keep moving back into the distance? And in our last story of the day, a little XMen Apocalypse expose. Man, Simon Kinberg has been cleaning up in H&N mentions this week. I honestly kind of feel a little obligated to mail him a $3 check for all the money these past few videos have made us. But he is once again the star of this story, as he sat down with Cinema Blend to discuss what is, in my opinion, one of the more underrated aspects of the upcoming movie, The Four Horsemen. And during that interview, he revealed a very interesting tidbit, that Psylocke was almost not in the movie at all. And upcoming some very minor Apocalypse spoilers, so click away if you don't want your pure and innocent eyes and ears tainted, but if you don't care, then listen on. In the film, originally the Horsemen were going to be Archangel, Storm, and Magneto, and when Professor X gets abducted halfway through the movie, kind of the big shocking twist was going to be that he was the fourth Horseman. But very late in the process, they decided this just wasn't clicking for them, so Kinberg and Singer decided to bring in another Horseman. Upon realizing that Psylocke had once been a Horseman in the comics, they decided to add her to the movie, and when looking for actresses, Kinberg suggested Olivia Munn, who he had just auditioned weeks earlier for Deadpool. They Googled her, and voila, one of the first pictures that came up was a fan art of her as Psylocke, and the rest is cinema history. So kids, if you're sitting at home making ridiculously awesome fan art or fan casting, remember, Simon Kinberg will see it, and no, he won't credit you. Just kidding, of course, but honestly, I think this is a really cool story of how fans actually impacted the Hollywood creative process. And remember, if you are sitting at home doing those things, you might actually have an impact on the movies that you want to see. But on that hopeful note, that brings us to the end of another Hybrid News Now. Thanks for checking in. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider supporting us on Patreon for access to exclusive goodies of all kinds. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you tomorrow.